In the Australian restoration industry, there's this massive disconnect, a huge gap between the incredible technical work that professionals do and what their clients actually understand. It's a communication breakdown that's costing everyone, and today we're going to dive deep into why it's happening and, more importantly, how we can start to fix it.
So often, it all starts with a single, desperate phone call. You've got a homeowner totally stressed out. Their kitchen is flooded from a burst pipe. And all they can say is, I just need it dried out. Sounds simple, right? But believe it or not, that's where the whole problem kicks off.
We call this the communication chasm. It's this massive gap that opens up the second a contractor steps on site. And honestly, it's because the industry and its clients are speaking completely different languages. It's a real problem.
And this slide really breaks it down perfectly. On one side, you have the homeowner just saying, please, just fix my kitchen. But then the contractor, trying to be professional, starts throwing around terms like psychrometric readings and moisture transmission. The client's just nodding along, but you can see it in their eyes. They're completely lost. It's like one person is speaking fluent Italian and the other only knows a few words of Spanish. Nothing is actually getting through.
And look, this isn't just some small mix-up. This chasm has serious, expensive consequences. We're talking millions of dollars in damage to a business's reputation. And for homeowners, tens of thousands in secondary repairs, when, a few weeks later, mold starts creeping up behind those brand new kitchen cabinets. It's a total disaster that was 100% preventable. But the problem actually goes a lot deeper than just the words we use. There's this dangerous illusion of expertise out there, where just having all the fancy, high-tech gear creates this false sense of security, and that can lead to some absolutely catastrophic failures.
Let me paint you a picture. A new technician gets their hands on a shiny new thermal imaging camera. They feel like a total pro, right? They scan a wall, see a colorful hotspot, and confidently write down moisture detected. But, and this is the critical part, they've made a huge mistake. A thermal camera doesn't detect moisture. It only sees temperature differences. That spot could be anything, an electrical wire, some missing insulation, anything. Without backing it up with a real moisture meter, that image is just a pretty picture. It doesn't mean a thing.
And this is a perfect example of what we call the iceberg principle. The homeowner sees a tiny water stain on the drywall. That's the 10% you can see above the surface. They just want you to patch it up and paint over it. But a real professional knows the true danger. The other 90% is lurking right underneath. We're talking about soaked structural timber, waterlogged insulation, and the start of a serious mold problem. So what's the big takeaway here? It's this, and it's so important. The equipment doesn't make you a professional. Understanding the actual science behind the data that your equipment is giving you, that is what defines true expertise. Anyone can go out and buy a camera. Not everyone can tell you what it's really seen. So what happens when this illusion of expertise collides with a really big, high-stakes project? Well, you get one of the most common and most expensive failures in the entire business, what I call the concrete disaster. A project manager walks onto a site, touches a concrete slab, and says, "Yep, feels dry to me." Based on that, the client goes ahead and installs $50,000 of beautiful premium timber flooring. Just 3 months later, that gorgeous, expensive floor is buckling and warping. It's a total mess. And why? Because while the surface felt dry, deep inside the concrete, moisture was just waiting to escape. The contractor failed to check the in-situ relative humidity. That's the moisture inside the slab, which absolutely must be at or below the industry standard of 75%. A true professional, like a master carpenter, would never dream of making a cut without measuring the wood first. They know the numbers. And it's the same here. For dense concrete, a surface reading is useless. You have to verify a Tramax moisture content of 3.5 to 4.5%, or that crucial 75% in situ RH. Getting these numbers right isn't a guess, it's a non-negotiable science. So how do we fix all this? How do we finally bridge that communication chasm and get rid of this dangerous illusion of expertise? Well, the solution, the new foundation, is built on 3 really strong pillars: knowledge, trust, and consistency.
All right, pillar number 1 is knowledge. This gets formalized through programs like CARSI. That's the certification and accreditation for the restoration service industry. This is what provides that essential scientific training that prevents disasters like that $50,000 concrete failure. It turns pure guesswork into professional, repeatable assessment.
But here's the thing.
Having all the knowledge in the world is only half the battle. Clients, insurers, builders, everyone involved needs to be able to trust that professionals will use that knowledge the right way, ethically and effectively on every single job.
Let me tell you a story. After the massive Brisbane floods in 2011, a builder went to a restoration company with a tempting offer. I'll pay you a fraction of the real cost to just spray and sign off on 1,500 homes. No real work, just quick cash. Well, the company that took that deal, they completely destroyed their reputation overnight. They became known as the Cowboys. It just goes to show you, cutting corners for a quick buck will cost you absolutely everything in the long run.
And this is exactly why our second pillar, trust, is so critical. It's embodied by organizations like the NRPG, the National Restoration Professionals Group. Think of it as an Australian mark of trust. It's a clear signal to everyone that they're hiring a company with certified training that's held accountable to professional standards, not some cowboy looking to make a fast buck. Building that kind of deep trust, it takes a long-term mindset. It kind of reminds me of an old story they call the farmer's wisdom. No matter what happens, good or bad, the farmer's only response is, "We'll see." The lesson is that true professionals don't get distracted by short-term wins or panic over short-term losses. They stay focused on building a strong, resilient reputation over time. And that brings us to our final pillar. And that long-term vision, it absolutely requires our third pillar, consistency. This is where standardized systems like Restore Assist are a total game changer. They make sure every single job is documented professionally, so that those critical checks, like that 75% RH reading on the concrete, are never, ever missed. It's about delivering professional, reliable results every single time. So, you see how it all locks together, right? CarC provides the knowledge, NRPG builds the trust, and Restore Assist ensures the consistency. Together, these three pillars are what can transform a fragmented trade into a truly respected, unified profession. Look, this isn't just about fixing today's problems. This is about building the future of the entire industry. It's about shifting our whole mindset, from being reactive firefighters to becoming proactive architects. Think about it. A firefighter just reacts to emergencies as they happen. An architect, on the other hand, designs the systems to prevent fires from ever starting. Building a professional reputation is like growing an oak tree. It takes decades of slow, patient investment to build something strong that can withstand any storm. But it only takes a few minutes with a chainsaw or one really bad job to cut it all down. This is about looking beyond the next job and starting to build tomorrow's industry today. So I'll leave you with this one thought. 25 years from now, people are going to look back and say, that right there, that's when the Australian restoration industry became truly professional. The only question is, will you have been a part of it?